Hey money nerds, welcome back to another episode. You have probably noticed we are in a different environment. Today, I'm going to be launching a video podcast. So if you're listening to this, that's amazing. If you would rather watch it on YouTube or any other video platform, then go ahead and check out the show notes and it's going to be linked below. Today, we're talking about the biggest mistakes that people make with their finances when they are in their 30s, and more importantly, how to avoid them. Here's the thing, your 20s are important, but what I find is so many people are just getting their financial life started in their 30s. The 20s it's all about education, building a financial foundation. So when you get to your 30s, you actually usually have a little bit of disposable income and you're starting to figure out what's next for you. If this sounds familiar, I have been there myself too. I had a couple career transitions in my 20s where I went from working in higher education and then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm ready to start doing something different, and I launched my own financial coaching business. Now, the reason why I share that is because that career shift into a totally different direction really did impact my financial life. Thankfully, I had enough of foresight to see that I needed some things like an emergency fund and a budget and just basic things to help me become successful when it comes to my finances. But my 30s is really where I started to make quote unquote money moves. But I know this isn't the case for a lot of people. For so many people, your 30s can be a lot of stumbling blocks where you're playing a little bit of damage control or cleanup from your 20s. And more than anything, if you aren't careful and you aren't thoughtful about the way that you approach your finances in your 30s, you can end up with a mountain of debt, a lot of stress, and having to say no to things that you would really much rather be saying yes to. So let's dive into some tips that are going to help you set up your financial foundation in the best way possible and avoid some of these money mistakes in your 30s. Mistake number one. I hate to bring this one up, but I see it time and time again with my financial coaching clients. Lifestyle inflation is a very real thing and it will rob you from your financial success. Here's what I mean by lifestyle inflation. It usually starts off as very innocent, very tame, nothing crazy. You get the new job, you start making a little bit of extra money, and pretty soon your car breaks down. So you do what a lot of people do, finance a newer car that's, again, reasonable. Maybe it's a payment that you can definitely afford, and then pretty soon that car is starting to get old, so you might upgrade that car. But it's not just one financial decision that impacts lifestyle creep. It's not just getting the new car. It's all of the other stuff too. It's getting the newer house. It's buying the second home because we think that's what we're supposed to do. It's starting to see small shifts in your finances where pretty soon you look back and you have no idea where all your money is going, but you make a great amount of money, but it's all going towards your lifestyle. That's why that lifestyle creep is so important to get in check, because it will rob you from success. Okay, I gotta share a true story that I saw. A person reached out, they were talking about their financial situation, and they shared with me a pretty sad story. They were expecting to get a new promotion at work. Super cool, very exciting, definitely well-deserved. And when they started to get into the weeds of the promotion and all of the different, benefits and all the things that were going to be really exciting, they were so pumped about the new promotion. It was going to be a huge lifestyle shift. So they thought everything was locked in. They went out, they bought a brand new car because their car was getting pretty clunky, pretty old. So they financed that new car. And then a few weeks later, that promotion fell through. So now they were stuck with a huge car payment and not the income to support that new car payment. And I wish I could say this is a one-off situation, but it's really not. It happens all the time. That's just one example of lifestyle inflation. So that's why it is so important to just avoid that mistake as much as you can, keep things in line, and live a very simple and kind of intentional life, at least while you're getting your finances off the ground or doing some cleanup control, especially if you have a lot of debt from your 20s. Another big thing that can help prevent that lifestyle inflation is, I do believe it all comes down to gratitude, intentional spending, and being in line with your values and what's truly important in your life. Another quick fix, if you're looking for something you can start to apply today, automate. This is like the best thing in the world. Automating everything that is important to you will help you with that lifestyle inflation, because it's making sure that you're taking care of your investing, your general spending. It's making sure that you're really putting that foundation down first to help you later. Mistake number 2 that I see so often in your 30s is waiting to invest. Delaying investing is one of the biggest mistakes I see because it just really takes away your ability for that money to grow and compound over time. If you're not familiar with the whole concept of compound interest, it is one of those things where when you have it going, you can kind of like eventually sit back and relax and take your time and not have to worry about everything with your finances. Eventually, when you have the money invested, your money starts to make more than you make by going to work. That's the goal, that's the dream, that's officially when you can sit back and retire. But what often happens is people, well-intentioned, will start to push pause on that investing instead of continuing forward while they pay off debt, or maybe they're trying to save for a different goal. So we pause on that investing. That I'll start later becomes a huge issue because of that compounding interest. And when you're in your 30s, you still have plenty of time for investing, but you also do want to take it kind of seriously. So that's why it is so important that you continue forward with a sustainable investing plan instead of pausing every time some financial goal comes up or you're trying to clean up some debt. That is all great things, but I would definitely work on doing that simultaneously so that you're not delaying that compounding growth. The fix for this mistake is to just start small. Be realistic. Start with something that you can truly afford. Maybe it's $50 a month. Maybe it's $100 a month. Whatever you can do is important to just start. Now, this is an interesting thing. I started an experiment a little bit before 2020 where I was just investing a small nominal amount. It was $50 per week. And I just continually invested that over and over to see what would that eventually do. The cool thing, that account today, this is of course 5 years later, but that account is now at about $15,000 to $16,000. It fluctuates depending on the market. And the reason why that's so cool is because I didn't invest that much. I've had almost $5,000 in just growth over the years. So that was $50 a week. If something like that seems unrealistic to you, drop it down to $20, $25, whatever you can afford. And if you can definitely afford more, do more for sure. The third mistake I often see for people in their 30s is when they ignore their retirement accounts. This becomes a problem because over years, a lot of people actually forget they have retirement accounts. It's that one 401k from when you worked at Best Buy when you were 18 years old and you forgot that you had some money in there and it hasn't been rolled over. One of the pieces I want to focus on today is the importance of checking to make sure that you understand where that money is first and foremost. Can you locate it? And then secondly, making sure that you have a good plan for adjusting that portfolio or rolling it over if you're not happy with the way it's being invested. A lot of times 401ks can be fantastic because there is that free match where the employer contributes into your 401k when you contribute, and that is a really great benefit, but there's also a lot of fees that are sometimes attached to that. So making sure that you can understand where those fees are, how much money is actually going towards fees versus towards growth, that's an important piece to do. And if you don't like the way that your 401k from 20 years ago was invested or 10 years ago, no big deal. Roll that money over into something that fits your lifestyle a little bit more and that you feel better about. It's really not too hard to do either. There's lots of different websites. I'm going to link a couple in the show notes so that you can start to see how you can track some of this missing money. On the flip side, if you do have access to a 401k, when we're talking about currently and you're not investing enough to at least get that free money, my friend, go get that free money. The way 401ks work is you contribute a certain percentage, your employer will match that percentage. When it comes together, that's the beautiful thing, and that's 100% return on your money. It's hard to beat that, so that's why it is so important if you're not optimizing your 401k and you're not investing enough to get that free money, start there. It's a great way to go, and it's a really good wealth building hack that I wish more people took advantage of in their 30s. The fourth mistake that people in their 30s often make with money is not protecting their assets. When you get to your 30s, this is usually where you start to get serious. You may have elderly parents, you may have kids, you might be getting married. There's a lot of different life circumstances that will kind of force you into facing this, hopefully. But a lot of people still don't dive into protecting their assets because it feels overwhelming and it feels kind of scary. It's not very fun to think about life insurance and signing up for policies or even wills and estates. Like, that's a little scary, right? But the important piece here is that you just find somebody that can help guide you through that process. There's some great estate attorneys that will often do one-time consults to just help you understand what do you need to have in place from a paperwork standpoint. At a bare minimum, if you have kids and you have people that rely on your income in some capacity, a term life insurance policy is going to be good. And when you're in your 30s, it's actually super affordable, which is that silver lining there too. The next thing is not having an emergency fund. This is a form of protecting your assets because that emergency fund is going to prevent a bad day or like a minor financial inconvenience from becoming a huge problem later down the road or leading to credit card debt and 30% interest rates and carrying that on time and time again. Breaking that cycle by having an emergency fund is a killer way to go. Also, my favorite place to put an emergency fund, I like the Ally High Interest Savings Account. This one is pretty good. It does fluctuate based on market demands and conditions and whatever the interest rates are at that time. But as a whole, I find that to be a very easy to use account. And I also like that you can have one general account and then have buckets of different savings accounts as well. So what that means specifically, let's say you have a $10,000 savings account and you have $5,000 that's allocated towards your emergency fund, you've got $2,000 that's towards a future car, and the rest is towards a trip. You don't have to have different accounts, you just have to have different buckets. So it's all one generic thing, but it funnels your money into different envelopes, so to speak. I think it's a great way to go. Another type of protecting your assets that we sometimes talk about on the show is not having a will. A will is just a written document that tells, in the event of death, what you want to have happen. Who do you want your assets to go to? Who do you want your kids to go to? All of that stuff that's not really fun to think about is all documented in your will. So that is another thing to do if you haven't done so yet and you're in your 30s. You definitely want to think through these pieces of how do you protect your assets and everything that you have worked for. Build those safety nets now. Just to recap, here are the 4 big mistakes I see people making in their 30s. The first one is lifestyle inflation or lifestyle creep, not paying attention and letting the day-to-day get a little bit out of control where it's hard to afford anything else. The second one, delaying investing. Do not do that. Start investing today. The third mistake is ignoring retirement accounts. The fourth mistake is not protecting your assets or your money. All right, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and more than anything, I hope you take action. Share this with somebody that you know that's in their 30s that could use a little motivation. That's it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys.